Hi guys, it's Kim Darwaza here, your Northern Virginia Realtor, and I wanted to give you my weekly market update. And then one of the questions I'm getting is sort of like how job loss and how what's going on is going to affect our market. So I wanted to say what's good is I had a listing. It's been on the market for almost a month, and I had only had like 3 showings, and I was like, what is going on? Because the other houses in the neighborhood that I've sold recently, like on the same street, all got multiple offers like in a weekend, and they escalated. And so it was really, really shocking that we had only had 3 showings, like basically 1 per week. Well, we got 8 additional ones in the last week. So I feel like people are sort of feeling a little better, coming out more. I've noticed, like with the whole traffic situation, that there's more traffic. At first I was like, oh, it took me 17 minutes to get to Tyson's, and no, it's not quite as bad as it was, but it's, there's more traffic. So people are going out more, which is good. I checked in with my loan officer, Christine Yerko at Movement Mortgage, and asked her about loan applications, because whether or not people are making a loan application is directly tied to whether or not people are buying. She said loan applications are still down overall, but people are still making loan application. A lot of people are doing refinances right now because the rates are so low, but loan applications are still down. So that's going to affect the number of people buying property. However, like I said last week, the listings I had put on did get multiple offers and above list price. So things are still moving, and we just don't have a lot of inventory. But what I wanted to talk about is, I have to look at my notes because I'm a math person, so I'm the numbers. So one of the big questions I'm getting is how they think this is going to affect the housing market. And I think it's going to be a lot different than 2007, 2008. I lived through that whole mortgage crisis situation, and it's different. I think for the most part, most people, a lot of people are furloughed, and most people are going to go back to work. Like once things reopen, obviously if a restaurant goes out of business or a small business goes out of business, unfortunately, they won't be going back to work there. But I think for the most part, what I'm understanding, especially in our area, we're very insulated here because we have a lot of government jobs and that type of thing. So I think most people are going to be going back to work. So real estate makes up 1/5 of the GDP, or the gross domestic product, of our country. So our leaders are going to do what they can do to keep real estate rolling. People don't understand that the National Association of Realtors Real Estate Political Action Committee is one of the largest political action committees. So they definitely are always on it. I think what's normally like the spring market will now become the summer market. If people feel more comfortable going out and getting out, and if some of the restrictions are lifted, I think it's just going to shift this year because we still, are in a majorly low inventory situation. And I do feel like once everything is lifted, a surge is going to come. And there are a lot of buyers who are just staying home because there's not a whole lot of inventory, because people aren't necessarily putting their houses. So they're sort of in wait and see mode, unless like the house of their dream pops up, then I think they buy it. But most people aren't just moving to move. So I think there will be a huge surge once we get out of this situation and get back to work. No one knows when that's going to be, especially here in Northern Virginia, but hopefully sooner rather than later. So one of the reasons why I don't think we're going to have a mortgage crisis or a situation like we had in 2007-8 is because now it's 4 times more difficult to get a loan than it was back then. I used to joke, they used to have these like no doc loans, and I used to joke if you could fog a mirror or had a pulse, you could get a loan. And that's just not the case anymore. And now you can't really get 0% loans down unless you're a VA loan, which you could before pretty much. Now you have to put like 3.5% down for the most part to get a loan. So people do have some money. Also, people aren't taking draws against their houses like they were back then. People were literally using their houses as ATMs back then. They were getting HELOCs. They were taking out money, buying cars, doing stuff their houses. One of the biggest things I saw, and I had my own clients did it, is they would take a HELOC, they would take the money, they'd go to a new construction place, put down a deposit with the intention of flipping the property and never living in it, because the appreciation was going so crazy that in the 7 months it took to build the place, they could sell it for a lot more. So then towards the end, people just got really caught in that, and they got stuck with these properties, and a lot of them just let them go. There were people who walked on $40,000 deposits because they're like, I'm going to lose more. I'm going to lose 100. I might as well just lose 40. So we're not seeing any of that kind of situation. Also, right now, 50% of the homes have 50% equity, which was not the case before. A lot of people were seriously underwater. So, and 30% of homes right now are owned free and clear. So we're in a completely different situation where we don't have that subset of people who shouldn't be buying homes, who are buying things like they would get interest only or pick and pay loans or whatever. And it's like, at the end of the day, you know if you can afford something or not. So if a bank tells you they're giving you this much money, I always tell my clients, figure out what monthly payment you can afford and back into it, because they're going to tell you for the most part that you can get more money than you really should feel comfortable paying. So and last year was a record year for real estate sales, and we're still performing, even with this going on, at 80% of last year's sales. So those are the main points. Like I said, here in the DC area, we're a little more insulated because our job market, but you know, it'll be really interesting to see. I think there's definitely going to be a surge coming. I think the spring market will become the summer market. Hopefully it won't be the spring market becomes the fall market, but that's to be seen. But anyways, I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, feel free to PM me or comment below, and I'll be more than happy to answer those. And yeah, thanks for watching, and stay safe.